You want success? You want transformation? You want to break patterns, crush limits, and build a life that actually feels like it belongs to you? Good, because it starts with understanding one powerful truth: your brain is not set in stone. It rewires, it adapts, it evolves. And that rewiring, it happens every single day based on what you think, what you choose, and what you do. Most people don't realize this, but you are literally building your future one neural pathway at a time. That negative self-talk you keep repeating, "I'm not good enough" loop. Yeah, it's not just something you say in your head. It becomes a pattern your brain clings to. And the only way to interrupt it is to intentionally start choosing different thoughts, different beliefs, and different actions. And here's the magic of it: your brain listens. You start waking up and saying, "I can handle today." Your brain starts building that pathway. You start telling yourself, "I have what it takes." Your brain strengthens that belief. It doesn't care whether it's true or not. Your brain responds to repetition, not reality. So you want to shift your life? Start repeating the right stuff. This isn't just motivation. This is science, neuroplasticity. It means your brain creates new connections. It means if you've been wired for fear, you can rewire for courage. If you've been wired for procrastination, you can rewire for discipline. If you've been wired to feel stuck, you can rewire to get unbelievably free. But you don't do that with some giant overhaul. You do it by showing up differently today, and then again tomorrow, and again. The tiniest decisions matter. That 1 minute you take to breathe when you're stressed, that's your brain rewiring for calm. That moment you stand up for yourself instead of staying silent, that's your brain rewiring for power. That uncomfortable conversation you choose to have instead of avoid, that's your brain building resilience. We think success is about luck or talent or timing. It's not. It's about reps, repetition, rewiring, over and over until the old pathways dissolve and the new ones become who you are. And here's what nobody tells you: you don't have to believe it yet. You just have to practice it. That's how rewiring works. You think successful people were born fearless. No. They just took action through the fear so many times that their brains adapted. You think confident people don't hear self-doubt? Oh, they hear it. They just stopped obeying it. They moved anyway. That movement, that's the code. That's how success is hardwired. Every time you choose growth over comfort, your brain rewires. Every time you show up with courage instead of letting fear shut you down, your brain rewires. Every time you do the thing you were scared to do, your brain is literally evolving into a higher version of you. You are training it to become the engine of your success instead of the excuse for your limitation. And that is the most empowering truth you'll ever learn. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're just wired a certain way from the past, but that wiring is not permanent unless you choose to keep repeating it. So what's it going to be? Keep looping the patterns that drain you, or start installing the thoughts, actions, and habits that build you? Rewiring starts the moment you decide you're done being ruled by the old and ready to create something new. All it takes is the next choice, and that next choice, it's right now. We've been sold a lie, a quiet, sneaky lie that tells us you are who you are. And that's that if you're shy, you'll always be shy. If you procrastinate, that's just your personality. If you're scared, it must mean you're weak. But let me wake you up with something science has been screaming from the rooftops for years now. Your brain is not fixed. It is not rigid. It is not locked into the patterns of your past. It is alive. It is plastic. And no, I don't mean plastic like fake-ic. I mean plastic like flexible, malleable, capable of transformation. That flexibility is called neuroplasticity. And it is the greatest gift your brain has ever given you. Neuroplasticity means that every single thought, every decision, every experience you have sends signals through your brain, and those signals form connections. Repeated signals, they get stronger. They build actual neural pathways. Think of them like highways of habit, of identity, of action. And here's where the power comes in. Just like you built the old pathways, you can build new ones. You can tear up the road that says, "I'm not good enough," and build a brand new one that screams, "I'm unstoppable." Let's be clear. This isn't some magical idea. It's biology. Your brain changes based on how you use it. If you feed it fear, it wires for fear. If you feed it courage, even shaky courage, it starts to wire for boldness. You repeat self-doubt. That becomes the dominant loop. But if you interrupt that loop with a new, empowering thought, even once, it plants a new seed. And every time you repeat that thought, take that action, choose that version of you, you water the seed, you grow the new wiring, you evolve your identity. And here's the kicker: your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It knows what you repeat. So when you visualize yourself speaking on stage, commanding the room, holding your head high, and owning your voice, even if you've never done it before, your brain is practicing success. It's firing the neurons required to become that version of you. That's rewiring. That's power. This is why change feels hard, not because you can't do it, but because you've trained your brain to expect and repeat the old. But difficult doesn't mean impossible. It means it's time to do the work, time to show your brain every single day what direction you want to go. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. The new you is one intentional choice away, over and over and over. And don't let anyone convince you otherwise. You are not your past, you are not your mistakes, you are not your fear. You are the architect of your future. And the tools you need to build it, they are right inside your skull. The question is, are you going to keep reinforcing the wiring that keeps you small, or are you finally going to activate the wiring that unleashes who you were always meant to be? You are not stuck. You are not limited. You are not broken. You are rewiring. You are rising. And once you understand that neuroplasticity is your superpower, you'll never look at your life the same way again. Let's be honest, motivation is great, but it's a spark. It's not the fire. If you want the fire, the consistent burn, the relentless drive, the steady heat that pushes you forward even when you don't feel like it, you don't rely on emotion. You build systems, you build habits, because here's the truth that no one tells you loud enough. Your brain is always listening, always learning, and always adapting to what you do repeatedly. And what you do repeatedly becomes your life. This is how it works. Every time you do something, even something tiny, like snoozing your alarm, picking up your phone first thing in the morning, scrolling when you should be working, avoiding the hard conversation, you're not just making a small decision, you're reinforcing a pathway in your brain. That pathway says, this is normal, this is what we do. And your brain loves normal. It loves predictable. It wants to conserve energy. So the more you repeat something, the more automatic it becomes. That's how habits form, not because they're morally right or wrong, not because they're good or bad, but because they're familiar. Now flip that coin. Let's say instead of hitting snooze, you get up the second your alarm goes off. You make your bed. You journal for 5 minutes. You do one hard thing before checking your phone. Do you know what that does? That teaches your brain, I am someone who leads my day. I take control. I set the tone. And your brain starts to wire itself around that identity. Suddenly, discipline becomes less of a struggle. Confidence, it becomes a natural byproduct. Focus, it becomes easier because you've trained your brain to expect momentum instead of chaos. Your habits are not just routines, they're proof. They're physical, daily proof of the kind of person you believe you are. And the most powerful thing is you can choose to build habits that reflect the future you want, not the past you regret. So when you catch yourself saying, that's just the way I am, stop, pause. That's not who you are. That's who you've practiced being. And what you've practiced can be unlearned, rewired, and replaced. Here's the secret sauce: to start small. Tiny habits repeated daily create massive transformations. You don't need to overhaul your life in one day. You need to prove to your brain over and over that you can trust yourself to follow through. That proof builds self-belief. That belief rewires identity, and that identity, that's who carries the vision. That's who breaks cycles. That's who shows up even when it's inconvenient, even when nobody's watching. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. There isn't one. The brain doesn't change in the perfect moment. It changes in the repeated one, the boring one. The early morning walk, the 10 push-ups, the 1-hour study session when you'd rather scroll. It's in those moments, those ordinary, gritty, unglamorous moments, that success is built. So if you've been wondering why things aren't changing, ask yourself, what are you practicing? What are you repeating? Because your brain is watching and it's building, and your habits, they are either wiring you for the life you want or anchoring you to the one you're desperate to outgrow. The beautiful part is the choice is yours every single day. Repetition rewires reality, and your habits are the blueprint. If your brain is the hardware, then your mindset is the software running the entire show. It's not just what you do that shapes your life, it's how you think about what you do. Your mindset is the lens that colors how you interpret challenges, how you respond to failure, and how you see yourself in the mirror every morning. And here's the catch. Most people don't even realize that their mindset is the very thing keeping them stuck. Let me break it down. Every single day, you're running mental scripts in your head, subconscious beliefs, expectations, assumptions. Some of those scripts were handed to you when you were a child. You're not smart enough. You're too emotional. You always mess things up, and you've been carrying those scripts like invisible chains into adulthood, into your relationships, your goals, your career. You don't question them because they feel familiar, but familiar doesn't mean factual. Just because you've been thinking something for a long time doesn't mean it's true. You see, mindset isn't just positive thinking. It's deeper. It's the decision to rewire your perspective, to catch your own self-sabotage in real time and change the story. Because the story you tell yourself, it's the most powerful force in your life, and your brain, smart as it is, will always find evidence to support whatever story you're telling. If you think you're a failure, you'll notice every time you mess up and ignore the times you succeed. If you believe you're too old, too late, too far gone, you will subconsciously shrink in every opportunity that tries to reach for you. But what happens when you upgrade the story? When you start telling yourself, I'm not behind, I'm building, or I'm not broken, I'm growing, your brain starts to look for proof of that. You start acting in alignment with progress instead of perfection. You stop needing permission. You stop shrinking in rooms you were born to stand tall in. You show up differently. And the world, it starts to respond to that energy. Here's the truth: people with a growth mindset don't see failure as proof they're inadequate. They see it as feedback. A chance to adapt, not retreat. They know that struggle isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign they're on the edge of breakthrough. And the beautiful thing? A growth mindset isn't something you're born with, it's a muscle, and every time you choose to believe in possibility over paralysis, you're strengthening it. It takes courage to think differently than you used to. It takes guts to challenge your own internal voice, but if you want a new life, you can't bring the same old thoughts into it. You've got to audit the system, you've got to confront the doubt, the fear, the apathy, and replace it with intention. Belief, action. You have the power to upgrade your operating system right now, and when you do, everything shifts. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop existing on autopilot and start living with design. Because here's the bottom line: your mindset is either your power source or your prison. But you are the coder. You write the script. You get to decide whether your mind becomes the reason you rise or the reason you stay where you are. The world changes when your mindset does. The fire starts there. The transformation begins there, and the life you're craving, it's already on the other side of the thoughts you haven't dared to change yet. Let's talk about habits, the daily, often invisible actions that are literally programming your brain for either success or stagnation. You want to know how your brain rewires for success? Here's the raw truth. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It doesn't happen when you land the job, lose the weight, or finally launch the business. It happens in the tiny, seemingly insignificant decisions you make every single day. One habit at a time. Your brain is designed to automate. Why? To conserve energy, to save mental bandwidth. That's why when you repeat an action, a thought, a pattern, your brain starts to hardwire it into a default path. It becomes easier, faster, more familiar, and over time, that pathway becomes the only road your brain knows how to travel when a trigger shows up. So what does that mean? If every morning you wake up, scroll through your phone, compare your life to strangers, tell yourself, I'm not doing enough, and rush into your day with stress and chaos, you're not just reacting. You're reinforcing, you're telling your brain, this is our normal, this is what we expect, and your brain, it delivers again and again. But here's the powerful part. You can interrupt that cycle, you can forge a new path, you can create habits that aren't draining you, they're training you to become focused, calm, disciplined, powerful. It doesn't need to be huge, it just needs to be consistent. When you start your day with a 5-minute breath check and instead of chaos, you're rewiring. When you write down 3 priorities instead of reacting to a never-ending to-do list, you're rewiring. When you choose movement over numbing, presence over distraction, action over overthinking, you're laying down new mental pavement. And guess what? Your brain notices. It starts building new connections, new responses. It adapts to this upgraded version of you. But you have to stick with it. And that's where most people quit, because habits aren't sexy in the beginning. They don't give you fireworks or instant validation. They give you quiet power, quiet clarity, and over time, that quiet grows louder than the doubt ever was. Let me tell you something. Your habits are either voting for the future you want or against it. There is no neutral. Everything you do is casting a ballot. Are you voting for the strong, focused, unstoppable version of yourself, or are you voting for the tired, reactive, always waiting for the right time version? And let me be clear, this isn't about perfection. It's about intention. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You just need to start. One micro habit, one small promise kept, one pattern disrupted. Because momentum doesn't come from motivation, it comes from motion. And when you build the habit of showing up for yourself, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one's watching, your brain starts to believe you, it starts to support you. It stops arguing with your potential and starts aligning with it. That's the power of habits. That's the neuroscience of change. You're not stuck, you're just wired that way. And the moment you start forging new paths, the old ones begin to fade, not because they're erased, but because you stop feeding them. Your future isn't built in the big leaps. It's built in the daily reps. Show up, repeat, rewire, rise. That's how you shape a new you from the inside out. Let's get brutally honest. If you're serious about rewiring your brain for success, you cannot ignore your environment. Your environment is either lifting you or limiting you. It's either shaping you into the person you're trying to become, or it's dragging you back into the person you're trying to leave behind. And the scariest part, most of us are completely unaware of how deeply we're being programmed by the spaces we live in, the people we hang around, the voices we listen to, and the content we consume. You want change, you want transformation, and look around. Who's sitting at your table? Who do you text when you're uncertain? Who are you listening to when your dreams feel shaky? Because the truth is, success is contagious, but so is doubt. So is mediocrity. Your brain is wired to adapt to what's around it. It mirrors, it mimics, it conforms. If your environment is full of negativity, scarcity, chaos, complaining, you're going to start thinking like that even if you swear you won't. Even if you're ambitious, driven, and laser focused. Because the people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, and the content you feed yourself are shaping your mental software without you even realizing it. Think about it. You walk into a messy room, your energy drops. You scroll through a feed full of highlight reels and toxic noise. Your self-worth takes a hit. You spend time with people who normalize procrastination and excuses. You start lowering your own standards just to belong. That's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. If you want to rewire your brain for success, you need to curate your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. Start by asking yourself, what in my environment reflects who I'm becoming? What needs to change? Maybe it's your workspace. Declutter it, make it inspiring. Maybe it's the music or news you wake up to. Shift it. Maybe it's the circle of people who always have something negative to say when you talk about your dreams. Create distance. And don't just think about the external environment. Think about your digital environment. What are you following online? What notifications pop up and hijack your attention? What voices are shaping your thoughts? You become what you consume, and your brain is listening. You've got to protect your peace like it's your greatest asset, because it is. You've got to surround yourself with possibility, with discipline, with belief, even if you have to create that ecosystem from scratch, even if no one around you is doing it. Even if it feels lonely at first, because growth is lonely, but regret is lonelier. And here's the magic: when you start living in an environment that supports your goals, your brain begins to trust that success is safe. It begins to feel normal. It stops resisting the change because it's not being pulled backward every day. You stop battling with your own momentum. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your environment. So raise the level, design your space, guard your circle, curate your inputs, create conditions where your highest self doesn't just survive, it thrives. You want to rewire your brain for success, then surround it with everything that reflects that success is already happening. Make your environment a declaration of who you're becoming. Every wall, every feed, every conversation, let it remind you you're not going back, you're building forward boldly, intentionally, unapologetically. So here's what it all